Are the judgment during the tribulation sequential in nature? Scholars who reject the premillennial interpretation of end-time prophecy have always played games with the book of Revelation in order to get around the clear teaching in chapter 20 that Jesus is going to return and reign for 1,000 years. Some have spiritualized this passage into nothingness. Others have argued that the judgment in Revelation are repetitive rather than sequential. Their argument is that the zeal, trumpet, and bowl judgment are all descriptions of the same thing, namely, the destruction of Jerusalem that occurred about 40 years after the establishment of the church. So in Revelation 19, Jesus is seen as returning in 70 AD to pour out God's wrath on the Jews. And chapter 20 is viewed as his subsequent reign over the church. There are certainly flashbacks and flash forwards in the book of Revelation, but most of the action is clearly sequential in nature, and that is the biblical approach that is incorporated into the Left Behind series. The judgments are definitely not circular or repetitive in nature. The seal judgment killed 1/4 of humanity, Revelation 6:8. The trumpet judgment result in the death of 1/3 of those remaining, Revelation 9:15. The bowl judgment do not result in massive death at all. Instead, they produce widespread and intense suffering, and the fifth bowl, darkness, is focused upon the capital of the Antichrist, Revelation 16:1-16. To argue that Revelation 20 portrays Jesus' reign over the world through the church, one would have to spiritualize the 1,000 years, since the church has existed about 2,000 years. The chapter refers 6 times to the reign of Jesus lasting 1,000 years. What would God have to say to convince us that he means 1,000 years? Also, it is painfully clear that the church is not reigning over the world. Jesus may be reigning over his church, but he obviously is not reigning over the world through his church. For all the nations of the earth are in rebellion against God and his anointed one. Psalm chapter 2.